Enter the beast, Luis Alfredo Garavito Cabillos. Born in 1957 in Colombia, as with most serial killers, Cabillos' home life wasn't exactly awesome as a child. Frequently abused by his alcoholic father and allegedly his mother not particularly caring for him, the general environment he grew up in was one of neglect and alcoholism, with a heaping of domestic violence thrown in. His school life was apparently little better, with later accounts from teachers and those who knew him there noting that while he was an eager student, he wasn't terribly gifted academically and was frequently and mercilessly bullied at school, as well as almost completely ostracized by his peers. Things didn't get much better for him when a family friend allegedly began sexually abusing him when he was 12. If all of this wasn't bad enough, Cabillos' homosexual preferences didn't sit well with dear old dad, who gave him the boot out of the house because of it. In the ensuing years, he would find various odd jobs, attempt to kill himself, attempt to get psychiatric help, and begin regularly molesting random boys. This ultimately progressed to also severely abusing the boys in other ways while molesting them, similar to what had been done to him as a child. Things progressed even further when, according to Garavito, the devil told him that he should kill the kids. His supposed first attempted murder did not, however, go well when, while attempting to lure the boy to his death, the police caught and beat him, as well as allegedly took his money, watch, and a ring that he had before letting him go. Unfortunately, long after he was successful, on October 4th, 1992, he killed a boy named Juan Carlos. Now, this video is dark enough, so we're going to otherwise spare you his specific acts in any real detail. But briefly, just to give you an idea, dismembering things and doing things with said members while his victims were still alive was a thing. And honestly, that is the tip of the iceberg. We just don't want to talk about it. So we'll just sum up and say that these children were brutally tortured in some of the worst ways imaginable, as he claimed it was the only way that he could reach climax. And moving swiftly on from here, we see Garavito begin compulsively torturing, raping, and murdering boys that he came across, with his modus operandi being to do things like offer them treats, alcohol, work, etc., to lure them to a secluded area. He is also known to have murdered at least 5 adults, though in those cases, just for practical purposes of getting rid of witnesses. Garavito's luck ran out, however, on April the 22nd, 1999, when he abducted a 12-year-old by the name of John Sabagal. While he was doing his thing to the boy, another teen saw and began throwing rocks at him, at which point Garavito tried to chase after the other boy, but lost him. Ultimately, in the aftermath, the police were called. Then, long story short, Garavito was finally arrested, thanks to the fact that he'd left his underwear, shoes, and glasses at the crime scene. Significantly, his underwear had some of his DNA, and they were able to confirm that they were in fact his. Ultimately, Garavito decided to be extremely cooperative, showing the officials his journal, which had a list of 140 of his victims by name, as well as lead the police to where he stashed some of the bodies. All total, he was convicted of murdering 138 children, though the real number was thought to be much higher. And indeed, the man himself confessed to another 50 or so, on top of the 140 in his book, bringing his horrid total of murders up to around 200 or so if true. Garavito was subsequently sentenced to 1,853 years and 9 days in prison. However, in Colombia at the time, the maximum sentence that could be carried out was just 40 years. And because Garavito was so cooperative with the authorities, this was further reduced, and he's eligible for parole in 2023. Yes, that's a thing. On top of that, owing to, quote, exemplary behavior while in prison, as well as his willingness to take part in various studies on himself, then director of Valledupar Maximum and Medium Security Penitentiary, Cesar Fernando Caraballo, he recently filed to give Garavito an even earlier release, much to the chagrin of literally everybody. However, the judge in the case was able to find an out to the whole thing, given that Garavito has not yet paid the required $41,500 restitution to the victims' families. Thus, the request for early release was denied. Excellent. Then the Colombian president, Ivan Duque, also chimed in on the matter, stating, "That beast is a bandit, a criminal. He is a stinking rat who has done nothing but harm children in our country, and the destiny of that criminal is to continue in jail. I have profound indignation at the possibility that anyone would suggest that that beast leave prison." Legend. As the man himself, he seems still optimistic he will be released at some point and wants to get into politics on a platform of advocating for abused children. However, even in prison, he has to be mostly isolated from other inmates, as officials are quite sure his life would abruptly end not long after if they put him with the general prison population. So let's just say we're guessing the general public is likely to have similar designs should he be released, and thus, we're further speculating, unlikely to vote for him. It's also noted that apparently he has relatively recently developed leukemia, so that may well put a damper on his political aspirations. Some people just can't catch a break. And this brings us to Pedro Alonso Lopez, who also happens to have been Colombian. And interesting aside here, the number of Colombians from around this era who are ranked among the top serial killers of all time is a fascinating phenomenon. As to why, it's conjectured that this had to do with the unrest in the region during these individuals' reign of terrors and how many impoverished children there were around and unlikely to be reported missing, allowing these individuals to get away with their reprehensible acts on a mass scale. Whatever the case, Lopez was born in 1948 in Colombia. The son of a prostitute, he seems to have been introduced to sexual acts at a rather young age and subsequently was caught by his mother fondling his little sister when he was 8, at which point his mother gave him the boot. Not long after, living on the streets, he claims a man promised him food if he'd come with him, but then instead he brutally raped him. Later in an orphanage, he was allegedly molested by one of his male teachers, though the veracity of these claims are difficult to determine. Whatever the case, he ran away from the orphanage and turned to a life of crime, ultimately resulting in him finding himself in the clink for stealing a car. While in prison, he was gang raped, resulting in him committing his first known murders, killing the 3 men who raped him, after which he no longer had any trouble with anyone else in the prison attempting to harm him. While you might think these murders would have drastically extended his stay there, only 2 years were added. Upon release from prison, he lived in various places, including Peru, Ecuador, and of course Colombia. In these various locations, according to him, he would rape and murder about 3 girls a week at his peak, targeting girls around 9 to 12 years old. As to why this age, he stated, "Because I lost my innocence at the age of 8, so I decided to do the same thing to as many girls as I could." He also noted his preference for Ecuadorian girls because, to quote this asshole, "I like the girls in Ecuador. They are more gentle and trusting, more innocent." He also claims he liked to occasionally go back and dig up the girls that weren't dead too long to have tea parties with their bodies. Nearly having to face the music in 1978, a local tribe caught him attempting to kidnap one of their children. They then beat the ever-loving crap out of him, followed by burying him up to his neck. Next, they intended to cover his head in syrup so that ants would eat his face. Unfortunately for his later victims, a US missionary witnessed the event and managed to get the tribe to release him to the police instead. Not long after, he was set free by the police. At this point, he would later state had already raped and murdered over 100 girls. In another instance in Ecuador, he was caught trying to abduct a girl, and when those around became aware, they attempted to lynch him, but police intervened on this one. This time, they looked into the matter, especially as they had a large list of missing children they had been investigating, and they believed him to be part of a gang who was abducting the girls. He confessed, however, that there was no gang, and at this point had kidnapped and murdered, to quote, over 200 in Ecuador, some 10s in Peru, and many more in Colombia. Lopez backed up these claims by taking the police to around 53 of the bodies that had buried in Ambato, Ecuador alone. For his crimes, Lopez was sentenced to 16 years in prison. Yep, 16 years. As to why such a small sentence, at the time this was the maximum that could be levelled in Ecuador for murder. Much like Garavito after him, Lopez was a model inmate, and in his case, this earned him 2 years off his sentence, and he was released in 1994. It wasn't over for him yet, though, however, as his first act was to attempt to illegally leave the country to Ecuador. Rather than continue to deal with him, he was deported to Colombia to answer to his crimes there. However, upon investigation, he was determined to be insane, and instead of prison, wound up in a mental hospital, where he was kept until 1998, when he was deemed rehabilitated and perfectly sane. $50 bail later, he was released under the stipulation that he regularly reports to the police. And that's the last anyone seems to have heard of the man, outside of a visit to his mother, in which he apparently made her get on her knees in front of him. Naturally, she was quite sure he was going to murder her, but instead, she says he blessed her, and no known person has heard from him since. Some speculate that he didn't actually abscond at all after blessing his mother, but rather locals simply took matters into their own hands and made him disappear. However, there is no real evidence of this or his current whereabouts, whether alive or dead. For the final candidate on the list of potentially the most prolific serial killer of all time, we have yet another Colombian, one Daniel Camargo Barbosa. Born in 1930, Camargo is thought to have raped and murdered around 200 girls across Colombia and Ecuador around the same time Lopez was doing the same. In Camargo's case, his mother died when he was a baby, and his father would later remarry, with his stepmother apparently being the very definition of the wicked stepmom, abusing him physically as well as mentally, including at one point forcing him to dress as a girl and go to school that way. As an adult, life proceeded pretty normally at first, until he found out that the woman he was going to marry was not, in fact, a virgin. Rather than leave her, the pair simply teamed up to find him virgins to have sex with his woman Esperanza luring the girls in and then drugging them so that he could rape them. At this stage, that was all he did, let him go after. Of course, this couldn't go on forever without being caught, and after 5 such rapes, the twisted couple were arrested and convicted. As for Camargo, he was initially given just 3 years for these crimes, but a later judge upped it to 8. Upon release in the early 1970s, after a bit of minor shenanigans in Brazil, he was deported to Colombia. While working as a street vendor in Colombia, he saw a 9-year-old girl and he decided to kidnap, rape, and murder her. On this later atrocity, he stated he decided to kill her simply as a way to help avoid getting caught. It's speculated upwards of 80 other girls in Colombia met the same fate by his hands before he was caught and convicted, sentenced to 30 years in prison, but later reduced to 25. However, this sentence was meaningless as he managed to escape prison in 1984. Over the course of the next 2 years, while living on the streets in Ecuador, he then raped and murdered at least 54 other girls. Noteworthy here is that he apparently made a living while on the streets by collecting ballpoint pens and reselling them, which begins to paint a picture of what happens to all those ballpoint pens that we all use, never use up, but then we can never find when we simply need a pen. Serial killers simply take them and resell them, apparently, probably taking them from your home while you're sleeping. Finally, in February of 1986, directly after raping and murdering a 9-year-old girl, police discovered this douchebag carrying a bag containing the clitoris and bloody clothes of his latest victim. He would later confess to killing 72 girls since his prison break and led the authorities to various grave sites in the woods to corroborate some of this. For these crimes, he was given a mere 16-year prison sentence, once again the maximum that could be levelled in Ecuador for murder. Unlike Garavito, Camargo was not kept from the general prison population for his protection, and unfortunately for him, unfortunately for f***ing everybody else, one of his victims had a relative serving time in the same prison, and said relative wasted little time stabbing and killing the 64-year-old Camargo on November the 13th, 1994. So at least one of these stories has a very happy ending.